Okay, Kennerd Realbird. If somebody really didn't know about relay, in a few words, could you just briefly describe what is relay and how it happens and what the whole pattern is?
Well, Indian relay, again, it involves a horse. There's 3 horses, 4 guys, 1 rider, a setup man, a mugger, and a back holder. And the object of the Indian relay is to be the first one across the finish line after 2 exchanges, 1 mounted start, and the coordination of between the 4 men and the 3 horses is very, very important. In order to win any kind of an Indian relay, your horses have to cooperate. And the fastest horses don't necessarily mean they're going to be the fastest team. So there's a lot of variables that are involved in a successful execution of this race, and very exciting.
And what about the connection between the human and the horse, your boys and the horses? What kind of a bond do they have, and how does that develop?
Well, I don't know about a bond, like a Hollywood interpretation of bond between this Indian and a horse. In my own life, that doesn't exist. But in order for these guys to really be good, is what I found out is that these individuals have got to trust that horse and to know the limits of that horse and to know the capabilities, and their confidence is built upon that horse. And so that's kind of the only way that I can say is a bond. It's not like a bond between a white lady and a lap dog. There's that dog, that it doesn't work that way. So, yeah, that's the way it is.
Okay, great. How do you, from the oral history, how did relay develop in your nation?
Well, every nation is different. They all have their languages, their traditions and cultures. There may be similarities. And the acquisition of the horse from the Spanish barb that came in the Gulf of Mexico into the plains of Texas, Comanches were pretty much the first tribe to acquire the horse and its usage. And for us people who are up in the north, my tribe went down on a journey south into the Rio Grande, it seems like, where they said that they were houses made of mud. That's where they acquired the horse. And so from that point on, once the Indians had acquired all this, the horse and stuff, naturally there was always gambling among Indian tribes. And so, yeah, I don't really know exactly when there was Indian relay. Fort Hall claims they're the first one. But to me, I don't think so. Because who would know prior to the time that the white people came and started recording and documenting time? The Indians didn't do, we don't, I still don't. In fact, my birthday, I don't even care. But what I'm saying is that I think that Buffalo Bill probably had a lot to do with the current form of Indian relay that we see. And I think a lot of it came around the turn of the 20th century, in the early 1900s. Like the northern parts of this country, like Sheridan, Wyoming, for instance, for the Crow people, and Belfouche for the Lakota, Gordon, Nebraska, or for the Blackfeet somewhere in Montana or Lethbridge or Calgary, Alberta. And they put on displays of horsemanship. And that's where it evolved, because the Indian really is not a practical daily thing. It's show business today, and back in when it started, it was show business. And I don't recall any legends within my tribe to say, well, they put this horse over here, and 5 miles down the road they put another one, and they use it for escape or something like that. I don't think so. But in the old days, when the old days, meaning from the 1700s up to about the latter part of the 1800s, when the Crow party, war party that went out, they go on foot, and once they captured them horses that belonged to the Sioux, the Blackfeet, or whoever they may be, they got on the horses and they drove them, and they drove them and drove them till their horses wore out. They'd stop, get another one from that herd, jump on, and move again. So it was always very difficult for the pursuing Indians who are only on one horse to catch up with them. So that was kind of a really, in its various, earliest stage, and very impromptu. It wasn't something that was, it was a matter of survival, and that was how it was done in the old days. So maybe whoever thought of it probably put it together, and again we're here in a circle. So that it has to be in the early 1900s.
Okay, great. So basically, you're teaching the young now. When you said a circle, basically that's really an important element in the whole culture. Basically, it's the life to the death, the circle of life. So how do you pass on this wonderful sport and heritage to the kids? I know you're considered an elder now.
Oh yeah.
And can you explain like an elder, and then how do you pass it to your son, and your son passes it to his
there's
children?
actually no concerted effort. Like I sat down and say, all right, let me write down step 1 to whatever, or from this point forth to this point. I mean, to me, as a Native American, as my ancestors, what we call oral history is how we survive, how we move on, and I'm of that generation where I'm not a writer. I don't schedule nothing, and I had no goal or idea or plan to have my sons continue my lifestyle. My sons, they went to college. My daughters went to college, and whether I even have a care as to see my lifestyle continue, I've never thought of it, and so I guess I'm not the right person to talk to in terms of a preservation of a way of life, because I'm into doing. I'm not into talking, and so, but somehow my sons are walking in my footsteps. Like I rode racehorses at a very early age. My brothers, all of them, and I was born into a family that was a horse family. So I can't say that I had a choice, but I love the lifestyle. I love the part of my connection with my ancestors, if I have to sit and think about it, but on a daily basis, that thought never even occurs. And so today, the horse culture of my grandfathers, then the horse culture of this modern time Indian, way different. And I try to maintain my grandfather's way, is that horses come first, they gotta eat before you eat. That kind of concept where I want my horses to reflect who I am. So when my horses come into public, they're not thin, skin and bone, they're not dirty. They're a reflection of who I am, and my children feel the same way about our horses, and they want to be proud of these horses because that's part of the upbringing and the values that were taught to me that I've passed on to my sons and my daughters. And I think it's the same way with my brothers and their children. And you know, the horsemanship, it's not like you go to Pat Pirelli School or Monty Roberts School or Buck Brenneman School to say I'm a horseman. It's very simple. This way of life and how we train our horses is very simple. There's nothing complex. I don't want to get a psychotic horse and try to make something out of him. That's not the way I am, and I don't care if that's what determines what a good horseman is and what is not. Then I'd rather be a not very good horseman. So, you know, that's one of the things that I've seen, though, is that the communities on the Crow Indian Reservation, Lodge Grass and Crow Agency, and they have so many ponies that are in the street at any hour of the day that kids are kind of like natural horsemen in a way. They have the ability to ride. But being a horseman is much, much more than being able to ride a horse. And a lot of what I see on my reservation is that there is a total absence of true horsemanship. These horses are rode, then they're put out, nobody cares, and they're wandering around, and that's not my kind of horsemanship. I want to manage the land that my horses are eating on. I want to make sure that there's enough forage left for the winter. I want to make sure that it's not overgrazed. And to me, that's a big part of horsemanship. And so how do I pass it on? I do things with my sons, and it's an ongoing just living, and they pick up on it. And so that's how Hamley and James have become I'm proud of them. They've done wonderful things. And that's kind of if I had to sit down right now like this and say, let me reflect, and I say, yeah, you know, I'm proud of my boys. I'm very proud of them. But on a daily basis, I don't even think about it. I don't even think about how James is able to overcome such adversity in his life when it came to riding bucking horses, the many, many surgeries that he's gone through. The courage that he has is just amazing. That for him to come back from major surgery, to come back and be able to do the things that is very dangerous, and I'm proud of him, because I think that's what the Indian warrior was about, was courage. And what is courage? See, people don't think to stop and think and say, what is courage? Is it the absence of fear? Is that courage? No, it isn't. Courage is when you know that there is extreme danger and the possibilities of personal, physical injury, and still doing it. And to conquer that fear, that's what courage is. And in life, it's not always just about the presence of a threat of bodily injury that requires courage. There's many other ways in which courage works for a human being on a daily basis. To be able to be honest, it takes a lot of courage. You know, and I've seen it on television time and time again. When people are caught, they deny it, they're this, and I just look at it and I said, God, how gutless can Americans be? And you know, just say whatever it is, you know. But that's a part of my life that I know is very, very different than mainstream America. So I think I went overboard.
Not at all.
No way.
Not at all. How then relays? It's a family. You're teaching the young through this incredible sport of relay because they're hanging around. They're seeing all the elements you're describing. So, is that true? I mean, would you think that it's a great training ground for the kids too, in so many different ways?
Again, that would be subjected to the school of origin from where these kids come from. They can perpetuate bad habits and be able to do the Indian relay, or they could acquire positive wisdom, knowledge, and so forth that is applicable not only in the sport of relay. So just because a person really doesn't mean that it's a positive. A positive is when he or she discards the old way that was damaging to society and to themselves, and to take Indian relay and make it positive. That would be the only way I would say that it is doing something for individuals. And sad, but true, I wish it wasn't, but there's still a lot of work to be done in the area of Indian relay, the community of Indian relay. They have to start realizing that they don't need to alter their minds with drugs and alcohol to feel good, and to go back to the old ways of life, and to be able to experience life without the aid of painkillers, synthetic drugs, illegal drugs, and alcohol. And that's what I want when we have our team put together. My whole goal is to have a totally 100% sober individuals on my team. And if they're not sober and if they're the best, they can be the best at some other team. Because I want people who are not contributing to what is happening to Native America today, with substance abuse and all the bad stuff that is going on. Again, we can blame some of the poverty and stuff on certain things, but yet we're the ones who wake up every day to determine whether we want to get up and be productive or not. And so if a guy is on my team, I talk about these things. I talk about the contribution that we make to our community, or to add to the burden of poverty and dysfunction. And so that's one thing that in my estimate as an individual, if I take in a kid, a young man, I want him to be doing it right. Now other teams don't care if they drink or they don't drink, or they smoke marijuana, if they don't smoke marijuana, it doesn't matter. And me, I want to make a difference. I want to make it comes outstanding as a human being, where he doesn't need to be under the influence. And so even myself, I don't take painkillers. I refuse to take painkillers. And I refuse to take anything that's going to make life better, And so how life is going to be better is for me to take care of myself, my body, my spiritual part, and my mental part, and to be able to recognize the accomplishment that I've done. I've been sober now for 39 years. I was 26 years old. I was like the rest of these guys. But my mom, I always said, ruined my life. She made me honest and have integrity and stuff. And man, and in this world, there ain't any. And I don't care if they deny it. It's very, very rare that you're going to find a human being, whether it's a black, Indian, white, whatever, that has that quality. And it damn sure ain't no politicians who have that. I've seen it before. I've seen non-Indians who talk this big talk and then come over and then just break everything that they talk about and think that we don't know. Well, as human beings, we're smart. We can tell when somebody's not kosher. And so that's something that I've always wanted to be, and I don't want nobody saying, that Kennerd, he's just BS, and that's, that ain't the way it is. And I know what I am. I know who I am on a daily basis. And that's something that I think is very, very important for your own soul and your own spirit. If you don't know who you are and you run after to be a gangster from Detroit, or you want to be a cholo from Espanola, and here you are, you're an Indian. You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to. I mean, I wear a cowboy outfit because it's like tools. I got to keep the sun out of, have the hat to cover me so that I don't get too much sun problems. And it's a necessity. But I've never wanted to be a cowboy. I've never wanted to be anybody than what I am. And I try to make that very clear to my sons and the kids that are with me, that to be proud of who you are is very, very essential to your well-being. If you don't have that, then you'll always be searching. And that's something that I've seen a lot of people go through life like that. So, I don't know, but that's how I live. I'm not very good at being somebody else's guy, and I never wanted to be. But I think that when you grow up in the circumstances that I did, every human being in the world, from the time they walk and get into into grade school and stuff, they want to be liked. I wanted to be liked too. But I find that when we have to sacrifice ourselves and our integrity and our honesty to be liked by somebody, then it's really not worth it. And I mean, I'd like to be liked by a lot of people, but unfortunately, they can't accept me for being who I am. And so I'm not going to change for anybody, because I think I'm living the right way. And I'm happy. So that's the main thing. Yeah, that's it.
You're part of an organization called Kyra.
Yeah.
It was founded on a lot of the principles that you've